From the start of the gender study in 2010, I was really excited about being the form teacher of this all-girls class. I had no major regrets. I found them to be very competitive.
I personally like the competitive nature of the class, but still at the same time it had its disadvantages. So for example, with the competitive nature of the class, it kept you on the ball, as you should say. It motivated us to strive for excellence and to try to get on top of the class because it was so difficult to get there. So probably if I were in a mixed class, I wouldn't have performed as well as if I were in the all-girls class.
What I found to be of major concern, however, is that these students took competitiveness on another level.
What I didn't like about the competitive nature of the class is that in order to stay on the top, many people or many girls in the class felt that it was okay to hide notes and not share information. So that's really a major disadvantage, and you found that people started to hide notes. We also had theft of notes, and you had to lock your bag and lock your desk pocket. You can't leave anything in your desk pocket.
I really had to address this situation. Now, after I dealt with this and told them how important it was to work as a class, making sure that they were a team, then I realized that that situation went straight down to a minimum. I remember doing lots of projects with them, and they were very enthusiastic about it.
I can recall in first form the colours poem that Miss Innes, our lit teacher and line teacher, had us doing, where we had to dress up and go into the hall and basically display or show whatever poem it was that we were supposed to dramatize.
I want you to tell us what was your initial reaction on entering a single gender class.
Shock, and I was quite miserable for the first couple of weeks because I was accustomed to being in a mixed class.
In the year 2012, I was the form teacher of Wambita once again, and like the previous class, I found them to be very sharp. They were intelligent, they were ready and raring to go.
In first form, we did a project with Miss Coffin Armstrong. She had did one on the different Calypsonians, and we had to come out and sing and all of that.
I remember giving them an assignment on resourcefulness when we look at the book The Island of the Blue Dolphins, and it was amazing to see them use newspaper to actually create a dress for Karana. They really enjoy that.
Readjusting to females, because I had grew up around a lot of boys and their personalities are very conflicting at moments. So there might have been like a lot of arguments and then a lot of people laughing, craziness.
Nothing was more inspirational when I saw them praying on the behalf of their family members and their loved ones. That really touched my heart. I'm so proud of them. I found them to be extremely loving. They would come, they would give you hugs, and they were so warm, they were cordial. I thought that this was a really good class overall. Cherish, tell us what was your initial reaction on entering a single gender class?
At first I was very disappointed because, as you can see, I like to see boys around, but I was happy at the end of the day.
2 years ago, I was the form teacher of the current 3 beta, and I must say they were a little bit more challenging than the previous forms. Would you say that it was an easy transition?
I wouldn't say that, because when I was in primary school, I was surrounded by both genders, so I had to learn to react to it very quickly, because I realized that for the rest of my years at Queen's College, I would have to be in an all-girls class.
I found them to be a little bit more aggressive. They were bolder. I can remember them asking me when I'm going to get a baby, "Ma'am, when are you going to get married?" And I would not have experienced this 2 years ago. I must say the generations are generally getting bolder.
There were no major challenges because, as you see, I adapt to people very quickly. So yeah.
Another thing that would have been a concern to me was the way they dressed. From time to time, I would have to say, put on your belt, make sure you're looking tidy, girls. And I would always stress the importance of sitting nicely and ensuring that as young ladies, you represent who you are.
One memorable experience is when I was in English language. We had a fun day activity where we had different groups like games, agricultural things in Barbados, and some of my friends dressed up as the green monkey, the shaggy bear, and we had a lot of traditional foods.
What was really outstanding to me was once when I was sitting in the staff point correcting some papers, and a student rushed into the staff point and told me that someone was ill and I had to rush down to take them to the sick bay. When I got to my classroom door to get the individual, the classroom was decorated. When I said decorated, I mean balloons everywhere. The children had organized a birthday party. So there was a cake on the table. I remember the colors distinctly, yellow and orange. And there were drinks, there were eats. It was a wonderful expression of their love. I really had a great birthday that year. Never at all in my 11 years had I experienced a birthday party at school.
I was quite shocked and not pleased, to be honest. But I've grown to accept and actually start to like class.
I was annoyed because they didn't want to be in an all-boys class, and I was also very shy because they didn't want to talk to people because I was in first form.
For me, it was very emotionally demanding, and I felt so tormented because when I went to orientation, right, they had 2 spots left, and then I hear my name on the PA system, and my head drops in disbelief. It's very demanding being in all those classes.
To some extent, I was able to accept it, but it wasn't enjoyable.
To me, it's not that you will be adjusted; you just gotta deal with it. It's not gonna be fully ever. You can just not send a brush off. It's just so peeving, and it quote unquote pisses you off.
The boys in my class just don't normally shut up, so we're normally placed in a lot of trouble. But I know that if push comes to shove, then I'm not the one in after school detention or anything like that.
It's really hard to do your work when everybody is talking and playing games. Is mostly on focus, and like you know how males and females have opposite personalities, so it was kind of that you had always had this one personality in your class instead of both, which would have made it neutral.
To be brutally honest, they're ruffians. Get nothing done. The attitude is a very don't care attitude. They're loud, and because of that attitude, we don't get as much work done. For most of my classes, for the last couple of years, they didn't complete syllabus. Winning promotions and not knowing what to be tested on. So I feel it is a very stressful environment because you don't reach your full potential because others are hindering you, and because the class itself has its own. Everybody thinks that the stereotypical class, as in that whole class is bad behaved. The ones who actually want to get work done, or who strive to do homework or be a good student, they don't get far.
I don't really have memorable experiences.
Well, there aren't really that much, but one would have been like how we enjoyed ourselves in class. Like we would have had drums and music, and when we had different skits in English, it would have been interesting.
It's very hard to recall because it put me on the spot, but to me, there are times when the bad behavior and the humor is laughable, but when you take it out of its boundary and you take it to a certain extent, then is when it's not humorous.
Obviously, you should get rid of them. While they might have been good for study, it's really disturbing for the children that are in the class when they have to be put into class knowing that there are other classes that can enjoy themselves and that behave properly, that accomplish work. So I think you should get rid of them.
Okay. Me, I take the same stand because I believe that when you have females and males in the same class, I think the attitudes of each sex kind of cancel out each other. Then if you put all in one heap together, it's not as successful.